Welcome back to another episode of Better Than I Found It, the podcast all things college golf. You're listening to Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor University. My guest for episode 259 is newly hired Tulsa University men's coach Brandon Wilkins. Brandon, who has been the associate head coach at SMU for the past 5 seasons, has the unique task/opportunity to build a program from scratch as Tulsa is bringing back men's golf after a 9-year hiatus. Brandon and I talk about all that is in front of him with respect to recruiting, building out a tournament schedule, along with fundraising and much more. We both agree that Tulsa bringing back men's golf is great for our sport. I hope you enjoy this episode. Okay, Better Than I Found It listeners, join me in welcoming to the podcast newly hired Tulsa University men's head golf coach, Brandon Wilkins. Brandon, welcome and congratulations.
Thanks, Mike. And first off, thank you so much for what you've done for college golf and just giving coaches the opportunity to learn and develop under your tutelage and to learn from this podcast in general. So I'm looking forward to it. I think this is my second time on the podcast, and I feel fortunate to be in this new role and excited to learn more about it and talk to others about it.
Yeah, when I interviewed you the other time, you were what I considered a young assistant coach, and I just got your perspectives on coaching and where you'd been, and we won't rehash all of that. In fact, we've got a lot more to talk about that's new. But now I'm talking to you as a head coach. How old are you? 32?
I'm 31. I'm 31. Yeah, I'll be 32 in a couple months.
You're still what I would consider a young head coach for sure.
Sure.
I was 37 when I became Mike Holder's assistant. I was 45 when I became a head coach. So I feel like 31 is still young, but the beauty of that is you are young, creative, forward thinking. You kind of relate a little bit better to what the kids are going through nowadays. But does it sound pretty cool to have head coach behind your name now?
Yeah, it sounds awesome. It's obviously been a whirlwind the last couple of weeks, and just having an opportunity to put that under my now resume is very interesting. I didn't really expect that to be this fast, and obviously nothing changes for me. I'm going to coach how I've coached, and now that I'm a head coach, is definitely have a little bit more power and oversight of a program. But I don't think it's going to change anything the way I've done things over the last 9 years. So it's exciting, but I'm going to continue doing the same way I've done things and fostering relationships and progressing in that route.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that occurred to me was there have been some programs cut in the last few years. And to think that we're adding back a program in men's college golf is a great thing. And I know that I have talked to no one that said, oh, that's not a good thing. They all think it's a great deal. So a lot of eyes are going to be on you as you build this program from scratch. But I think it's great for college golf that Tulsa's adding back.
Yeah, I think it's going to be amazing. I think there's obviously a lack of precedent with it all, and especially in this scope of college athletics today. There's more programs being cut and more situations being lack of funding and all sorts of situations. But, I mean, the way this community has surrounded this whole situation, Tulsa and the University of Tulsa, the way they progressed the situation in a matter of time is pretty astounding. I mean, obviously Tulsa is a great golf town, but there's a strong lineage of former players and people surrounding the university that really wanted this team to get back and running. And so, honestly, there was a slew of candidates and a lot of people that were really, really interested in this job. And, I feel really humbled that they've chosen to be me to be their next leader. There was a lot of people that gave money, but not only money and time. And, I want to thank a couple people that have kind of made this opportunity possible. Mr. and Mrs. Prince were very, very important to this process. They gave a lot of funds, not only to funds, but money to kind of progress this thing forward. The H&A and Mary Kay Chapman Foundation, that they were a huge benefit to Tulsa men's golf and starting this thing up. Al Walker, Mark Mara, and Don Quint Jr., all those guys, former players and former people involved in this program. And so, it takes a village. Obviously, Luke Hillen and Justin Moore, they were a huge part of this process and doing things the right way. And going through this process of hiring a coach is not easy. And so, I mean, all of this takes a village, and this community is going to surround and open their arms around this program and make it something special. So, I'm super excited. Obviously, being a new head coach and having this opportunity is going to be great for my career, but obviously Tulsa's a place where I can see myself for the next 20, 30 years. It's not a stepping stone job for me. And obviously there's so many new opportunities and things you can do in that town as far as golf goes. And so I'm just so excited about this. The junior golf community right now is surrounding their arms around me, and I have the amount of outreach and the texts and calls that I've gotten over the last 4 to 5 days have been, it's been so awesome. Time and things change pretty quickly from a assistant coach to a head coach, and you become a little bit more relevant. So I'm having to manage the calls and texts and people reaching out, but it's all amazing things, and I can't really wait to get started.
Yeah, that's you mentioned something about now I'm a head coach, and I always tell every assistant coach I've ever had, I want their input. I want to know what they think. I want to have all of their opinions on every subject relative to the program. But I always remind them, when we make a decision as a coaching staff, it's coming back on my desk, not yours. So for the first time in your career, and this is a good thing, this is not a bad problem, but everything that happens with Tulsa golf, good or bad or whatever, is going to find its way to your desk. Do you realize that?
Yeah, I've noticed that over the last like 4 or 5 days, just starting out on July 1st. It's like, oh my gosh, every decision I make is now, it's on me. And especially with a lack of precedent and no team right now, I've got no one to blame but myself right now if things kind of go awry. So I understand that the scope in recruiting, understand that in the scope of fundraising and engaging in relationships and making sure that I'm available to anyone and everyone at this moment. Obviously, I don't have an assistant coach right now, and we'll get to that later. But that's a lot of pressure. I think we can talk about this in a little bit. I've had some great coaches and mentors in my life, especially programs that I've worked at. And at those programs, I've had a ton of autonomy to do and coach as I please. But the pressures of being a head coach now are a little bit more real than making a mistake as assistant. And so I'm thankful for those moments. I had a great experience with Tom Shaw at Abilene Christian. He gave me a ton of autonomy, and he taught me a ton coming from Vanderbilt and an SEC program, and just the ability to recruit and know what to look for and identifying talent in that scope. I was a very young coach. I was 23 years old, making $12,000 a year. I just wanted to surround myself with people that were going to help me develop as a coach, and Tom was one of those people. And obviously, there's a lot of people to thank, including you, in that scope of developing me as a young coach. But those 2 years I spent at AC were just pivotal in my development as a coach, of identifying talent and understanding golf in general more as a young person. As I went on the university, and go ahead.
Well, I was going to say Tom Shaw wasn't your only. He was a great mentor, but you had two or three others for sure.
Yeah. So going on to Denver, working under Coach Billinger at Denver, it was an awesome experience too, because we got slightly more competitive there, and we had some opportunity to recruit some better players and obviously compete at a slightly higher level as AC was going transitioning Division II to Division I. And so that was exciting as well. But also, Coach Billinger gave me a ton of autonomy to coach and recruit and kind of do the things I needed to do to develop on my own. And so, and same thing at SMU. Chris has been so great with me, and a lot of people know this in the community. Chris has given me so much autonomy to coach and recruit and run the program and do so many different things that have not many assistant coaches get the opportunity to do. And so that to that point is I've had all these experiences that I'm a very young coach, but in that same scope, I've had so much autonomy where it's allowed me to grow and learn as a coach more so than others. And every head coaches, their personality styles are different, their coaching styles are different in regard to their assistant coach. But I think it was just an amazing experience for me to develop quickly with that autonomy. And so I think that being said, I'm ready to step into this role. I think I'm well seasoned and ready to develop a new program. Obviously, there will be some learning moments and stepping stones to cross and to continue to develop my coaching style and my tactics. But those moments that I had under those coaches, and obviously Vince Clark at McLennan, that was an amazing opportunity to play for him. All those instances and moments have prepared me for this moment. While surrounding myself with great mentors outside of the coaches that I've had, including you and Michael Beard and Greg Sands, Jonathan Dismuke, Jean-Paul Hebert. I've just been really blessed with a lot of great coaches to speak into my life. So
You bring up a good point. Obviously, you've worked for coaches and you played for a great coach in Vince Clark, one of the best in the country. But you actually did a great job of reaching out to other coaches. And those coaches were generous with their time and with their knowledge and their information. But I would encourage every young coach. The worst you're going to get is a non-response. That's the worst that could happen. Reach out to coaches. You'd be shocked at how giving our coaching community is. You mentioned 6 right there, fantastic coaches, and they all poured into your career.
Yeah, I mean, I can even look back to the first year coaching. I was a first year assistant at ACU, and I'd reached out to you and spoken to you, and you had offered for me to stay in your hotel room at the golf coaches convention. And so just situations like that. I mean, a really relationship driven community. And so people want to help. They want to give their time, especially with other coaches in general. And so I realized that from early on, I did not have the resources and ability to do it on my own. And so just reaching out to other coaches was so important to me. And I think you were the first coach I reached out to and had conversations with and just started to learn from you and others, because I think in a certain sense, you can get somewhat jaded by just learning from the coaches you're working for, coaches you played for, and not have an overall sense of the environment that's really going on. And so I just really wanted to expand my horizons in that realm and just really kind of tap into my resources and people that wanted to help. And so there have been so many coaches that have helped me develop as a coach, and I can't thank them enough, because I don't think I'd be in a situation without them. And so I'm going to continue to do that. That's not a situation where I'm just going to stop now that I'm a head coach.
No, you haven't. You've only begun to learn, so it's fixing to come your way for sure. But I was thinking about this. You've got a really rare opportunity right now to build something from scratch. You're building this from the foundation up. Now, Bill Brogdon before you had a lot of success, but that's been 9 or 10 years since Bill retired. So it's a brand new program. You are creating a culture from the start. And before I ask you to talk about that, I actually experienced this in a much smaller scale, but in fall of 93, Eben North High School became a school, and I started the golf program there. And I remember thinking to myself, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea I didn't have all the experiences you've had already. I had coached before, but not really being at my own program. And I remember thinking it's really important what I do from the start, because I'm setting a precedent. And every time I make a decision, I'm setting precedent every single time. So I remember that feeling. You're fixing to do it right now because you get to start something from scratch. You get to create a culture that's yours from day one. There's no previous issues or of poor culture or anything. How are you thinking about that right now? I know you've only had a few days, but have you already thought about that?
Well, I think it starts by identifying what culture you want and don't want. Fortunately and unfortunately, I've been on teams that have had some less than reputable culture, and I've been on some teams that have a great culture. So, at the times and moments, and you're experiencing those cultures, sometimes it feels really good when you have a good culture, but it feels really bad to have a bad culture. And I think it was a great opportunity to, and I'm not going to speak on what teams the cultures were bad or good on, but just experiencing both sides of it and knowing what you want from your program going forward. Obviously, I want to build a culture of competitiveness. That's important to me. And even from when I started out playing college golf, I really want to have a family dynamic among my culture, and just an overall sense of passion of people who love golf and love playing golf. As you know, it's a beautiful game. It's an amazing game. It's a privilege to play it. We have a special opportunity as college golfers and college coaches to do a really special thing. And the perspective of that is pretty phenomenal. And so just understanding that it's a very special deal, and I want people to fall into that and understand the privilege it is to play at a place like University of Tulsa. And so just creating that dynamic and surrounding myself with players who love golf, who love competing, who want to really enjoy each other too. College was really short, and it's for 4 years, and it's a very challenging time sometimes. But if you're spinning around people you love and care about, and you have an amazing platform to compete in a great game, and you have coaches you care about as well, it makes life a whole lot easier to develop as a young person. So those are some of the things that I can think of as important. The
Yeah,
the recruiting piece of it all, and there's some nuances in that, but I really want players to come to Tulsa that love golf, love competing, love getting better, have high ceilings, and are just doing it for the right reasons, if that makes sense.
sure, sure, absolutely it does. And as you build this team, you don't have a single player yet, but as you build this team, and I think the max will be 9 that you can have on the team. I don't know how many you'll have starting out. We'll talk about that in a minute, but you're going to be recruiting kids that fit within that culture you'd like to create, I'm sure. And we should be doing it every year as a coach. I should never, I mean, I talk to people all the time when they say, well, how do I find the right player for me? And I said, well, I would talk to Scott Limbaugh, Ryan Hibble, Mike Small, Alan Bratton. I would talk to the best coaches in the country because they're doing a better job of finding players that fit their way of coaching or whatever. So I don't know. I think you're kind of a relationship driven coach. You want to get to know people really well. Are you, we're going to talk about, let's just talk about it right now, recruiting. I mean, what characteristics are you looking for? And are there any disqualifiers? I mean, what are some non-negotiables that you would never, ever accept on your team?
Right. I stepped into a situation at SMU that was really solid, I would say. I got to coach 2 first-team All-Americans, and Mac Meisner, Noah Goodwin, and as I've told people in the past, and in the last, not even in this interview process and the job process, but those guys have kind of set the gold standard for what I'm looking for in a recruit. The first thing is passion, passion for the game, passion for getting better, passion for competing. Obviously talented, physically gifted in a sense that there's not many situations that they understand their weaknesses and capitalize on their strengths and want to improve on their weaknesses. Going beyond that, continuing to recruit a player who's relationship driven as well, because although it's an individualistic sport, it does take a team to get better. If you have a team that is willing to compete with each other and live and die by each other, they're automatically going to improve on a daily basis. Chris and I we're very lucky to recruit some great individuals that have created a great culture over the last couple of years at SMU of people who want to spend time together on and off the golf course. And when you get into that, these players want to spend a lot of time on the golf course as well. They want to play against each other. They want to beat each other. They want to go out and play 18 holes. They want to play different games. And that just doesn't end on the golf course. It's going to play basketball or, tennis or pickleball or other sports or other card games where they're constantly competing. And so you get in that competitive mindset of consistently trying to whoop each other, you're going to get better. And so developing that sense of life it doesn't stop in college golf. It obviously goes past college golf, but if you can get in that frame of mind, those are individuals that I want to recruit. People who want to win, people who want to continue to develop, people who don't always know all the answers as well. They want to ask questions.
You want them coachable.
Coachable, yeah. I think I've had a great individual the last 3 years, and William Sides. William Sides is from Tulsa. He came in as a pretty solid junior recruit. I mean, top 30, top 40 in his class. But he has been a sponge for 4 years. Everything you could tell him to do, he's done it. And even if it's wrong, he hasn't held that against you, which is it takes a very special person to do so. And so someone that puts trust in you and someone that puts trust in your coaching abilities is important for me. And so William kind of sets a standard in that, just being a sponge and having an opportunity to really soak up any information and energy that you give him. And so, just finding kids like that and finding situations like that and families that are willing to support you as a coach and what you're doing with your young man is very important for me too. And so all that in a nutshell, recruiting is challenging and you're not going to get it right all the time. You're going to miss at points, but there's a point where you can always get someone to buy into the culture that you're trying to develop. And so talent comes and goes and people develop slowly or quickly, more so than others. But it doesn't take any talent or energy to buy into a culture. And so that starts at the top. It starts with me, and it starts with the captains on our golf team. So
It does. It does. You know, I mentioned you look. I asked you for all the things you're looking for. What's something you are avoiding, like the plague? I mean, I don't want this on my team. What are some of those qualities or characteristics?
well, just I think there is a sometimes, and you've seen this probably in the past, a overall sense of having to do this on a golf team and not instead of getting to do this on a golf team. So I really want to recruit and entertain players in that sense of people who love being around college golf. They love golf. They love getting better. In the grand scope of things, golf is pretty easy to compare to most things people have to endure around the world. I mean, college golf is pretty luxurious. And so recruiting players that are complaining or having negative thoughts towards college golf is something that I simply won't stand or be a part of. Um, it just is not a situation that I want to surround my culture in. And um, obviously, we live in a complaining culture, complaining world. Sometimes we just don't understand the perspective of things and can't really get it. And so I understand that's part of it sometimes, but holding people accountable, especially young people accountable to what they say and what they do is very important to me. And so I really want players who are not in a negative scope of mind towards golf. Like I said, I really want players who love golf. They love competing. They love entertaining the fact of improving their game and don't see that as a setback or a challenge or something that's going to make them feel incredibly negative towards the game. I mean, for example, I had Will Sides came into his freshman year of college and he was really struggling with the putter. And, I want to say borderline yips. I don't like using that word very lightly, but it was. I mean, he was leaving 2 footers short and having extreme issues in that scope. And it was a challenge as a coach for Chris and I to kind of navigate that situation. And this guy was so open to changing opportunities. He switched to left-handed putting, and now he's top 50 in the world amateur golf rankings.
You know, I was playing. I was walking with Johnny Kiefer in the Trinity Forest Invitational, your host event at SMU. I think it was fall of 22, and he was playing with William, and William was putting left-handed, and he putted beautifully that day. So you guys did good work with him.
Well, I think that's a God thing too, because we were sitting in the office, just staring at each other, and Chris and I looked into a golf bag and saw a left-handed putter and said, "Why don't you go start hitting a few putts with that on the putt view green?" And the next day in qualifying, he goes out there and he gains like 3.5 shots putting and shoots 65, and he's never missed a lineup since. So now I think he's 54 in the world amateur golf rankings, and he's not looking back right now. And I think he'll be in the top 25 on the PGA Tour U next year. So
that's great.
There's things like that. Just having an open mind to getting better and thinking outside the box of situations where I would love to do anything and everything to improve my game and go to the ends of the oceans to try to figure that out are players that I want to recruit.
Yeah, I love it, and they're grateful. They have a sense of gratitude about them, which I think is a wonderful human quality.
Right. It's I think with the comparison of social media and jumping into that, it's really hard to be grateful as a young person. But if you can possess that quality, it's just a great situation to help you progress as a young person. So
okay. Well, so long as we're talking about recruiting, let's talk about the really big elephant in the room, and that is two of the best golf programs in the United States of America are in your backyard at Oklahoma State in Stillwater and University of Oklahoma in Norman. How is that going to affect the way you recruit the state of Oklahoma or in the region, or will it affect that? Or do you have any idea? Have you thought about that?
Well, I've had a great opportunity to recruit some of the best players from Oklahoma the last couple of years and even sign them and commit them with Carson Griggs from Tulsa and William Sides. So, I mean, obviously, Coach Bratton and Coach Hibble can't get every player they want, especially with the upcoming roster limits and complications with that. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And obviously, I think those coaches want to be a liaison and a help to me in that same scope because they realize that too. They want to send them to a good, solid program, and especially with Oklahoma kids and Texas kids being in the region at Tulsa is very, very important. So I think it'll be challenging to understand what they're trying to do, but if I can get in their ear and understand what they're trying to do with the recruiting scope, I think we can be a huge help and liaison to each other. Obviously, Coach Bratton has less Oklahoma kids than Brian does. And so, understanding that and understanding the region, and I think just having a realistic expectation that I'm probably not going to win many recruiting battles against them. I would like to eventually, but starting out, I mean, Coach Hibble and Coach Bratton have built amazing dynasties in college golf. I think we can all agree with that. And so, but in the same scope, there is a lot of junior golfers that are great players in Oklahoma and Texas. And, Coach Hibble and Coach Brad have not just stayed in Oklahoma. They've gone south of the border to recruit many times. They've had many of Texas kids and Oklahoma kids on their rosters. And so just understanding that there's only a certain amount of kids they can have on their golf team, especially with upcoming roster limits. And I think Coach Hibble and Coach Brad would like to see some of the Oklahoma kids stay in state too. And so that only helps their recruiting and continue to develop their players in their own right. And so I'm looking forward to that opportunity to recruit against them, but also understanding that there's going to be a certain expectation to know that the products they have built and they continue to build are something that's going to be extremely hard to compete against as an early on program. But it won't stop me. I mean, I've done a very good job recruiting over the last 9 years on my certain institutions, and I will continue to recruit hard and continue to press in and continue to do things that are outside the box that other coaches won't do. I think an advantage that I have is I'm young and I'm very relatable to young people, and so that's helpful in that sense. But I'm going to continue to tap into the resources that I have, and I think Coach Hibble and Coach Bratton are going to be a great resource to me going forward as far as recruiting goes. I think SEC is going to roster of 8, and I'm not sure what the Big 12 is doing, but you can probably speak more on that. But in the same scope, they're not going to be able to recruit every single 8, 9, and so I think they're not going to be able to recruit every single great player in Oklahoma. So I'm going to have a great opportunity to bring those players in. And as Coach Hibble's he's had a big roster over his last few years, and it's a great problem for him to have. But it's even a better problem for me to have on that scope, because now those roster limits have to be cut down, and an opportunity to get some of those players that he has that can extremely help me and get some playing time at Tulsa is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and we're also talking speculation here because we have no idea what kind of team you're going to be able to produce early on, how you're going to recruit. But I will say this: there are some advantages at Tulsa. Bill Brogdon did have some success for sure. He won a regional title in 2007 with all 5 players from Oklahoma. Very rare to be able to do that anymore. That's great. But there's a lot of perceived advantages, in my opinion, to Tulsa University, and one of them being great golf courses. Talk about the courses that are your home courses, and have you had the opportunity to meet with those professionals yet?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to meet with a couple so far, which has been awesome, and they've opened up their arms and opened up their gates and said, "Come on in. We want the Tulsa men's golf team to be there and to give us access where it's something that not something that I set up or." Even Coach Brogdon set up. It's just been the university in general and the past players and the members at those clubs that have been really excited about the possibility of our team continuing to practice out there, restarting the program. And our golf course rotation is pretty amazing. We have 6 to 7 amazing championship golf courses. We have a very, very special rotation with Southern Hills being at the top, but Southern Hills doesn't even begin to be the only factor in that whole lineup. I mean, you have Cedar Ridge, which hosted a live event. You've got the Oaks Country Club. You've got Golf Club Oklahoma. You have the Patriot. You have Tulsa Country Club. You have just a vast array of different types of golf course that can help develop a player. And so, I didn't really understand this or know this until I started this interview process of how amazing the lineup is. And I think that is a testament to Coach Brogdon's success in the past and also recruiting Oklahoma players. They understand that, they get that. And so getting on campus, understanding that you have an opportunity to play these places and to get better and continue to test your game under different elements and different situations and different kinds of golf courses that are championship level golf courses is something any recruit can get excited about. And so I will say recruiting is not easy these days. It's never been easy, especially now, especially with NIL and transfer portal and understanding all of that. But if you have these resources and you have these facilities and people that want to help open their doors to you, I think anybody can understand this, especially me being at SMU. We had a great option with Trinity Forest. They were very open and welcoming for us all the time, especially with our facility being back there. But post-COVID, it's really hard to get on other golf courses. And so being in Tulsa is very unique, where they're very, very open-minded. And I think Kerry Cosby is kind of the liaison or the catalyst to that whole situation. Kerry's been an amazing liaison to college golf. He's been a person that has cared about and supported college golf for as long as he's been in the business. And I think that has trickled down to all the local pros in the area. And so they want to be open to college golf, and especially the excitement and the momentum of the new program and the reemergence of the Tulsa men's golf team. I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity to get our young players and our young people on these golf courses, and for them to continue to build relationships in the community. So I'm super excited about it. I've had such a great outreach. People are so excited to talk to me and talk about this program and what I'm going to do and continue to progress as recruiting goes. And just the excitement of being able to talk to a recruit about the rotation and ability to play championship golf course is something that excites me. I've got a couple of visits on campus next week already, and just I'm itching to show them what we have to offer. And so, like I said, it's a great time to restart a college golf program, especially in the town of Tulsa.
That's great. Yeah, that's obviously an advantage in recruiting, I would think, for you. But climate is also an advantage. You can play golf year round in Tulsa, and a really great education. So I think you've been used to that at SMU, an upgraded education there. So you've had that opportunity. But another challenge you're going to have is building a tournament schedule. So have you done any work on that? You've only been there 5 days. Have you done anything on that? Because that is a challenge.
Yeah, I've had a tremendous amount of outreach and people who want to support this situation. A couple of days ago, I talked to Conrad Ray at Stanford, and he wants to have us in our home event and in his home event, and just the overall outreach has been incredible. I think I can build a championship schedule pretty quickly, and that's something I'm really excited about. Obviously, facilities are one thing, but we play college golf to go play in tournaments, correct? And so, building that schedule is very, very important to me, and so I'm really excited about particular coaches that have continued to reach out to me and say, okay, we can have you in your tournament for fall of 26 or spring of 27. And obviously, with the ever growing situation of PGA Tour you have that as schedule is one of the most important things you can do. And so I understand that, and I understand that players want to play a great tournament schedule and travel across the country to play great tournaments. And so building that schedule is probably one of the most important things for me right now. So I think I have 3 tournaments for the fall of 26 and obviously working on the spring of 27, but there's so many great tournaments and so many great coaches, and I'm lucky to have great relationships with the people across the community and coaching that are allowing me to jump into their tournament as a new program, because they get it and they understand, they want to help. And like I said, it takes a village, and I would say our community is very, very close as college coaches. And so I feel fortunate in that scope, where we have a lot of help and a lot of people that are willing to let us in their event.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. But I think that also speaks to not only the coaches being giving, but also the coaches knowing it's important for a program like Tulsa to come back to college golf, get back in the game. We want to grow our sport. And so if inviting you to their tournament could help with that, I know they're going to want to do that.
Right. Yeah, it's been special. My tournament schedule is almost very similar to what we've had at SMU. Obviously, I'm going to have to be a little bit careful with the 500 rule and managing that situation with a new team. But it's just a testament to relationship building and relationship. And my advice to young coaches is to continue to jump into that and build relationships, because you never know where it's going to take you, and your reputation pretty much precedes yourself. If you're a jerk and you're not getting along with their coaches, you're not going to get into good events. You're not going to recruit good players, and people are going to talk. So I'm super excited about the outreach that I've had as far as tournaments and coaches allowing me to kind of step into their event, not knowing what kind of product we're going to be able to bring to that event, and regardless, just letting us participate nonetheless.
Yeah, totally. The opportunity, it shows you how important opportunity is. PGA Tour University, what is that? That's opportunity. And same thing for a schedule. You get to play against great teams on great venues. It's wonderful. Another option, another category you need to work on is fundraising, I'm sure. And I know you've talked to the Tulsa University people about that, but how are you going to go about that? Is that a relationship building type deal as well?
Yeah, I think the beauty of this situation is everyone is super excited about the program being reemerged. And so, me, Mike, I'm a highly relational guy, and I love talking to people and getting to know people and stepping into that scope. And so that's an easy part of the job for me. Like I said about autonomy, Chris has given me a ton of autonomy at SMU to fundraise and do certain situations in that scope. And so um, I don't want to say it's going to be an easy job, but I would say it's going to be easier than most, just based on the momentum we have as far as people who want to be involved and support the program, and the overall resources that are going to be allotted to us in that same situation. I think there's a lot of people who want to give and be a part of it. And obviously it falls on me to foster that situation and make those asks and communicate to people what we need going forward. Obviously it's already set up for great success, but as you know, as a head coach, and I'm starting to learn, fundraising never stops and recruiting never stops, and fundraising especially. I mean, you really can't fundraise too well. And so and that starts off with relationship development for me, and understanding the community and understanding the people that are involved with wanting to make it this program as best as it possibly can be. And so I just really want to be engaged in that community. I've already had some great conversations with people and people that want to help. And so I think it's going to be a very, very easy transition into that scope. It can be probably challenging if you make it challenging on yourself. And so I really want to continue to develop relationships and use my personality and my relationship building skills to progress that situation forward. And so I'm super excited about that opportunity. I think it's a very fun part of the job for me, especially with so many people being excited about this. And so, there's been a lot of money already raised without me being on campus. And I'm very thankful for that it's set up for success, but I don't want to stop now. I don't want to stop here. And my administration is so important, but they are so supportive of just what we're trying to do here and understand what it takes to be good too. And so they're a huge liaison to me to continue to progress in this fundraising, regime. So
Sure. Well, this is an unfair question here because you've been on the job 5 days. So, but I'm going to ask you the vision that you have for TU Golf now, because it's a brand new program starting anew. But I'm going to ask you, have you thought about 1 year, 5 year, 10 year goals? What's possible at Tulsa in your opinion?
yeah, I think it's similar to what we've done at SMU. Obviously, we've had some good years, we've had some tough years, but I mean, I don't think there is any reason why we can't be a perennial top 30, top 40 program, even starting out, especially with the transfer portal and the amount of young talent that are late bloomers in Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, I think you can agree there's a large sum of young men that are really progressing and improving at a higher rate in the class of 2026 in Texas and Oklahoma. And so I'm excited about that. I think I can be very competitive starting out. Obviously, the boundaries of that are unknown. I don't know if I can be a, you know, national championship contender starting out, or make nationals, or make regionals. I don't want to put any tangible expectations on that, but I truly think that what Tulsa has to offer in the golf courses and the overall situation, the facilities and the schedule I can build, I think it's going to be a situation where we can be pretty competitive starting out. Um, obviously there's some factors as long as that align with the transfer portal and how successful I can be in there, because I'm going to utilize that, I believe. And so, we'll see. I think the sky is the limit, though. In the first year, I really want to make a regional. I think that's going to be a good opportunity for me to, prove that we can do this at Tulsa. I think it's going to be maybe not easy, but I think it's obtainable. And I told our administration that I think it's definitely possible to do that. But it matters who I bring in, and matters the transfers I bring in, and matters the incoming freshmen I bring in, and how we go about doing that. And so, year one, I love to make a regional. I'd love to, win some golf tournaments. I'd love to develop players and help them get better. Year five, I would kind of hope we kind of build the same platform we've done at SMU. Obviously, being small and private, this is not always easy, and attracting young men to that situation in small towns is not the easiest situation. But like I said, with the facilities and resources and overall opportunity, it's built for success. And so, I've been successful at each of the programs I've been at, and they've all been different. And so, but in the same niche environment as Tulsa is, and small and private, the towns are somewhat small. Dallas is large in that sense, but SMU is a small community in general, and it's a small university. And so, my overall aspirations and thoughts of being successful are something that are important to me, and I think are very obtainable. And so, year one, I just want to get my feet wet and make sure we're bringing in great kids for our culture and our community, and just making sure that our guys are getting better in that same sense too. And so, it's hard to put a tangible result on it all, and especially in golf, as you know, it's really hard to say, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to go. But I really do think it's possible to be competitive, and competitive early on. And so, I think taking this job is something coming from a great university in SMU it's very, very similar. And so, year one, definitely progressing and getting better, and hopefully progressing towards those goals of making postseason and being a perennial team in that scope. Obviously, the American is important for our administration to be successful in, and I think I've done that at SMU. We've done that at SMU to be successful in that conference, but I definitely want to be successful past that situation and progress past that situation, because if you're just eyeing on a conference championship, eyeing on hopefully winning that, your eye is not on the main prize of being successful past that. And so, those are my ideas, and obviously there's not like much of a precedent involved with that whole situation, but I think it's very obtainable, and I'm excited about those opportunities.
We didn't actually mention the 10-year, but I mean, I would assume somewhere in there would be competing for a national championship at some point in 10 years. Is
Right.
that correct? Probably.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, obviously, you haven't seen many mid-majors win a national championship. Obviously, Pepperdine did a couple of years ago, but I think the resources and facilities we have, it's very obtainable. The NIL scope is important too, developing that and understanding that's going to be part of the situation. But obviously, when you have a great golf course rotation, you have facilities, you've got resources, you got people you want to help, it's kind of on you to build a great team. And I think the reason why I wanted to take this job is I saw all those things possible. You don't want to limit your thought process of potentially winning a national championship because of the conference you're in, or just the overall size of the university. I think it's very obtainable what you've seen with Michael Beers down at Pepperdine. He's perennial a top 25 team, and he's over there in Little Malibu with limited course access, and he has good facilities. But I mean, it can be done, and it can be done at the mid-major level. And so I'm excited about it.
Some would say that it's unrealistic to think you could do that, but the very first day I went to work for Mike Holder, he told me, he says, Mike, he said, that may be unrealistic, but being great at anything has nothing to do with being realistic. So you've got to think outside of what the parameters are that people put on it, or the limits that people put on it. I think you could do anything there you wanted. A lot of people didn't think we'd make match play at Baylor, but we did. So.
Right. And I think that the main situation, I've never been too results oriented, if that makes sense. I just have never been in that situation where I'm, looking at rankings or looking at winning golf tournaments or looking at those situations, the day-to-day opportunities to get better are something that I consistently have looked at to improve a team and improve a culture. And obviously, if you do that, you recruit well, you fundraise well, you continue to build a team on a day-to-day level and improve those situations on a day-to-day basis, you end up building a product that's somewhat capable of accomplishing some amazing things. And so, it's hard to put a tangible thought process of where I want to be as results oriented, but I know the process of the way I want to do things on a day-to-day basis to continue to improve our situation and grow our situation at Tulsa. And so, just sticking to those core competencies of just understanding what it takes to get better and improve on a day-to-day basis, and just having kids on my team that want to do that. They understand that that's important, and also surrounding myself with people in the community that want to help and understand what it takes to be great. And so those are some of the things I can think of as a year 1, year 5, year 10 that don't really change from any part of the moment of year 1 or year 5, year 10. It's going to stay the same. It's going to stay consistent. And at the end of the day, you build something and those results just kind of take care of themselves.
I agree with that totally. So you mentioned earlier assistant coach. Have you thought about that? When is that process? What's your timeline there?
Yeah, so I've thought about it a little bit. I'm definitely in a situation right now where I don't want to get too convoluted, and I don't want to put more on my plate as far as bringing in an assistant coach. Obviously, we don't have a team. Um, there's not that much to do for an assistant coach right now, and I just want to bring in someone that understands what I'm trying to do, and also I would like to be able to recruit my own players right now and bring in players without help, if that makes sense, because I just want them to be. I don't want to teach an assistant coach right now kind of what I'm thinking as far as culture wise or personality wise or development of a player wise to bring in. And so I'm eventually going to hire an assistant coach. It probably will be next spring at some point. But right now, I just my main goals right now are to recruit well, immerse myself in the community, and develop relationships in Tulsa, and just go to work recruiting wise. Most coaches in this industry know that I've been a talented recruiter for the last 9 years of doing this. I still don't think that changes at all, and so eventually I would love to have some help in that scope, but right now I think it's going to be important for me to kind of step into that situation and just do it on my own for a little bit, especially not competing or having a team. But there are the nuances of equipment or little things that assistant coach is involved with. We just don't have that right now, and so the only thing they can help me with right now is developing relationships in the community and recruiting, which right now I kind of want to do that on my own, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so, Justin Moore, our AD, had a great advice. He says, if you put any hour to a situation that an assistant coach can do, it's taking an hour away from what you're doing. And I just don't have many of those opportunities that an hour I can't do is something an assistant coach can do. And so that starts with recruiting. It starts with fundraising. It starts with just being involved in the community, and people want to get to know me and not necessarily my assistant coach. And so I can't wait to hire an assistant coach because I'm excited to find someone that helps me develop as a coach as well. And so it's going to be an exciting process in that scope too. It's the same thing as recruiting for me. And, that's going to be a very cool thing because I spent 9 years as an assistant coach and I know what it takes to be a great assistant coach. So.
Great. Well, listen, you said you had some unofficial visits next week, but you also are, I'm sure, going to be down at the U.S. Junior at Trinity Forest, I would assume.
I'll be at the U.S. Junior at Trinity Forest, and I will be at the Texas State Junior in Texas. And so I'm going to be staying regionally. I think I might go to the British Boys in mid-August. And so I'm going to be expanding my horizons as far as recruiting goes and just trying to find the best player and the best fit for Tulsa, and just overall going to work and stepping into that. I don't think I'm going to be in Tulsa that much over the next month or month and a half. So, my first order of business is building a team and just trying to find some players. Obviously, it's somewhat late for the class of 2026, but not too late. And so we're right on the threshold of finding some good players in that class. And I'm super excited about the amount of outreach and people that are excited about this whole situation.
Well, I, for one, am excited. Obviously, the personal relationship you and I've had for years, but just to have college golf back at Tulsa, I think is a great thing. I want to wish you the best of luck. I know I'm going to see you on the recruiting trail because you're going to spend plenty of time in Texas. So I will get to see you again and again and again. But
Yes, sir.
I just want to say congratulations again. Thank you for coming on this podcast today because I know how busy you are right now. A lot of people are tugging for your attention. But best of luck, and I can't wait to see you at Trinity Forest.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. And like I said, you've been a great mentor to me for over the last 9 years of doing this, and I think you'll continue to do that be in that same role. And this is not the last time you hear from me, even as a head coach. So I'll be probably tapping in and asking for advice continuously. You've been such a great liaison to college golf, and you continue to do so. And I think it's a pretty special opportunity that you have to continue to be in that role. And so people respect you, they love you, they care about you, and I'm excited to continue to learn more from you as a head coach.
Well, best of luck. Thank you for those kind words, and best of luck. And it's exciting to see where this is going to go for you. Have a great summer. I'll see you in Dallas for the U.S. Junior.
Thanks, Coach McGraw. See you soon.
You bet.